The text from Mallory came through at 11:47 p.m. Flight delayed. Won't be back until Thursday. Love you. I stared at it for maybe 30 seconds before I realized what was wrong. She never said love you in texts. She said X, or nothing at all. The love you was makeup before I even knew what she'd broken. I'm Jack Mercer, and I work in IT compliance, which means I spend my days looking at things people don't want me to see. Patterns, anomalies, the places where the numbers don't match the story. I'd been married to Mallory for 6 years, and for the last 3 months, her patterns had been off. Not dramatically. That's the thing people don't get about deception. Real liars don't suddenly become different people. They just shift. A degree here, a degree there. Mallory's shifts were small. The way she tilted her phone away when texting. How her work trips to Boston had gone from quarterly to monthly. The fact that she'd started doing her nails again, wearing perfume on Tuesday mornings. I sat in our kitchen, my kitchen, really, since I paid the mortgage, and opened my laptop. Her flight wasn't delayed. I checked the airline's site. Flight 2847 from Boston to Manchester had landed on time at 9:32 p.m. So where was she? The smart move would have been to confront her, ask questions, maybe suggest counseling. But I'd learned something in compliance work. When you smell smoke, you don't ask if there's a fire, you find it. I used miles to book a flight to Boston for the next morning. One night, one cheap hotel near the airport, and I'd surprise her at whatever conference she was supposedly attending. Maybe I was wrong. Maybe there was an explanation. But the numbers never lied. The hotel lobby in Boston smelled like industrial carpet cleaner and burned coffee. The Marriott downtown, business class boring, exactly the kind of place Mallory would book on the company card. I'd called ahead, said I wanted to surprise my wife, gave them her name. The desk clerk, early 20s, bored expression, name tag that said Ashley, typed without looking up. Mercer. Yeah, checked in yesterday, room 1847. Can I get a key? I want to surprise her. Ashley's fingers stopped. She looked at me for the first time, and something in her face changed. Pity, maybe, or recognition. She checked in with a +1. The world didn't stop. That's what they say in books, but it's not true. The world kept going exactly the same speed. The elevator dinged somewhere behind me. A businessman rolled his suitcase past, wheels clicking on tile. My heart kept beating. A +1, I repeated. Yeah, so I can't just give you a key if she's my wife. I kept my voice level. Compliance Jack, the guy who sits across from executives and tells them their books don't balance. Calm. Reasonable. We share everything. I forgot to grab a key before she left this morning, and I've been in meetings all day. The lie came out smooth because it wasn't really a lie. We did share everything. Her income, my credit, the house, the car payments, the life we'd built. The only thing we apparently didn't share was honesty. Ashley hesitated, then shrugged. I need ID. 2 minutes later, I had a key card and 18 floors of elevator silence to decide what I was going to do when that door opened. The thing about rage is that it's loud. Screaming, throwing things, making a scene. That's rage. What I felt in that elevator was something else. Cold. Quiet. The kind of calm that comes from watching a building collapse in slow motion and realizing you're inside it. The hallway on the 18th floor was empty. Beige walls, generic art, the hum of ice machines. I walked to 1847 and stood outside the door. I could hear water running. Shower, maybe. And voices, muffled, but there. A man's laugh. Mallory saying something I couldn't make out. Here's what I didn't do. I didn't kick the door down. I didn't burst in screaming. I didn't make it easy for her to paint me as the crazy husband. I swiped the key card. The lock clicked green. I opened the door slowly, like I was supposed to be there, like I belonged. The room was nicer than I expected. King bed, city view, minibar. Mallory's suitcase was open on the luggage rack, her clothes scattered across the chair, and on the nightstand next to a bottle of wine and 2 glasses was a man's watch, expensive, the kind that costs more than my car payment. The bathroom door was cracked open, steam drifting out. The shower was running, and I could hear them both in there, not doing anything, just talking, the casual intimacy of people who'd done this before. I took out my phone and photographed the watch, then the wine glasses, the room number on the door, the suitcase. I worked fast, methodical, documenting everything like an audit. The shower turned off. I pocketed my phone and stood in the middle of the room, hands in my pockets, waiting. Mallory came out first, wrapped in a towel, hair wet. She saw me and froze, not shocked, annoyed, like I'd interrupted something important. "Jack? What are you—" The man came out behind her, tall, maybe late 30s, good jawline, wearing the hotel bathrobe like he owned it. He stopped when he saw me, but he didn't look embarrassed. He looked irritated. "Who's this?" he asked Mallory. I almost laughed. "I'm the husband." "Jack," Mallory said, and her voice had that edge it got when I forgot to take out the trash or left dishes in the sink. "You should have called. You can't just—" "Can't just what? Show up when my wife's on a business trip?" I looked at the man. "You must be the keynote speaker." He stepped forward, trying to establish dominance or whatever. "Look, man, this isn't—" "Grant," Mallory cut him off, sharp, like she was warning him. Grant. Now I had a name. I turned back to Mallory. 6 years of marriage, and I'd never seen her look at me the way she was looking at Grant, like he was something valuable and I was something broken. "We'll talk about this at home," I said. "Jack, don't make this dramatic." "I'm not making it anything." I was already heading for the door. "Enjoy your conference." Grant moved to intercept me, got between me and the exit. Up close, I could see he was the kind of guy who worked out, the kind who thought size mattered. "Hey, you don't get to just walk in here and what?" I looked at him. "Call security? Tell them a husband showed up at his wife's hotel room? Go ahead." He didn't move, but he didn't have an answer either. I walked past him, opened the door, and stepped into the hallway. Behind me, Mallory said something I didn't catch. Grant said something back. The door closed. I stood there for maybe 10 seconds, just breathing. Then I heard the door open again. Grant stepped out, still in the bathrobe, face red. "We need to talk." "No," I said. "We really don't." He grabbed my arm. I looked down at his hand, then back at his face. "Take your hand off me." He didn't. "You don't understand what's happening here." "I understand exactly what's happening." I pulled my arm free. "And I understand you're about to make this worse." The elevator dinged at the end of the hall. An older couple stepped out, saw us, me in my rumpled work clothes, Grant in a bathrobe, and quickly looked away. Grant noticed them too. His jaw tightened. "This isn't over." "Yeah," I said. "It's really not." I walked to the elevator and didn't look back. On the flight home, I didn't sleep. I pulled out my laptop and started building a timeline. Every business trip Mallory had taken in the last 6 months, every late night at the office, every time she'd been too tired or not in the mood or just distant. The patterns were clear once I knew what to look for. I screenshotted our joint bank statements, flagged the charges from Boston hotels, the restaurant receipts, the wine she'd bought on my credit card. Each one was small enough to ignore alone, but together they painted a picture. By the time the plane landed, I had 47 pages of documentation, and I had Dana Rourke's number pulled up on my phone. Dana was my cousin, my mother's sister's kid, and she was the kind of lawyer people hired when they wanted to win, not when they wanted to feel good about themselves. Family law, mostly, divorces, custody battles. She'd once told me that her job was to find the truth and make it hurt. I texted her. "Need to talk. Family matter. Urgent." She replied before I'd even gotten my bag from the overhead. Office, tomorrow. 9 a.m. Don't talk to her before we meet. I wasn't planning to. Mallory came home 3 days later. She didn't apologize. She didn't explain. She walked in like nothing had happened, set her suitcase down, and asked if we had any milk. I was sitting at the kitchen table with my laptop closed in front of me and 47 pages of printed documentation in a folder I wasn't ready to open yet. We need to talk, I said. She sighed, the way she did when I brought up refinancing the mortgage or fixing the deck. Jack, I'm exhausted. Can this wait? No. She looked at me then, really looked, and something shifted in her expression. Not guilt. Calculation. She was figuring out what I knew and how much damage control she needed. Fine. She sat across from me, folded her hands like we were in a business meeting. What's this about? Boston. Her face didn't change. What about it? Room 1847, the Marriott, Grant. Now she blinked, but she recovered fast, leaned back, crossed her arms. You followed me. I surprised you. There's a difference. You had no right. I had every right. You're my wife. I kept my voice level. The trick to winning an argument isn't volume, it's control. So let's skip the part where you tell me it's not what it looked like, and you tell me the truth. She stared at me for a long moment. Then she laughed. Not hysterical, just mean. You want the truth? Fine. Grant makes me happy. You make me tired. There it was. Clean, simple, brutal. How long? I asked. Does it matter? Yeah, actually, it does. She shrugged. 4 months, maybe 5. The wine receipts went back 7. She was lying even now. So what do you want? I asked. Divorce? Eventually. She stood up, smoothed her blouse. But let's be adults about this. We'll split things fairly, sell the house, move on. Fairly, I repeated. I'm not trying to take you for everything, Jack. I'm trying to be reasonable. Reasonable. That was Mallory's favorite word. She was always reasonable, right up until she wasn't. I saw a lawyer yesterday, I said. Her expression tightened. Of course you did. Dana Rourke. The color drained from her face. Good. She knew the name. Everyone in family law in New England knew Dana Rourke. You hired Dana? Her voice went up half an octave. Jack, she's a shark. This doesn't need to be a war. Then you shouldn't have fired the first shot. She stepped back, recalculating. What do you want? Right now, I want you to pack a bag and stay somewhere else while we figure this out. This is my house, too. The mortgage is in my name. The deed is in my name. You live here because I let you. I stood up, matched her height. So pack a bag, or I'll pack it for you. For the first time since Boston, I saw something in her eyes that looked like fear, but it passed quick, replaced by something harder. Fine, she said, but you're going to regret this. Probably. I opened the door. But not today. She grabbed her purse, her phone, her keys. Didn't take any clothes, just left, heels clicking on the walkway, car starting in the driveway. I closed the door and locked it. Then I sat down and opened my laptop. Dana's office was in an old brick building downtown, the kind with creaky floors and windows that didn't quite seal. She met me in the lobby herself, tall, sharp-suited, gray hair pulled back tight, eyes that missed nothing. Walk with me, she said. No hello, no small talk. She led me to a conference room that smelled like old paper and furniture polish. Tell me everything. Start from the hotel. I did. Every detail. The key card, the watch, the wine glasses, Grant in the bathrobe, Mallory's face when I walked in. The conversation in the kitchen 3 days later. Dana listened without interrupting, taking notes on a yellow legal pad in handwriting I couldn't read. When I finished, she set down her pen. Documentation? I slid the folder across the table. She flipped through it, nodding occasionally. This is good. Clean timeline, receipts, no illegal access to her accounts. You pulled this from joint statements? Everything we share. Smart. She closed the folder. But here's the question I need you to answer honestly. What do you want out of this? I want her to lose. Dana smiled. It wasn't a nice smile. Define lose. I want her to walk away with nothing. I want Grant to regret ever meeting her. I want everyone who thinks I'm the boring husband to know exactly what she is. Revenge. Justice. Same thing, different branding. She leaned back in her chair. Okay, here's what we're going to do. We don't file yet. We build, we document, we wait for her to make a mistake. She already made one. She made several, but people like Mallory, they always make more. Dana tapped the folder. You said Grant had an expensive watch. Did you get the make? Omega. Seamaster, I think. He married? I don't know. Find out, because if he is, that's leverage. She pulled out a business card, scribbled a name on the back. This is an investigator I use. Private, discreet. He'll do a background on Grant, see what we're working with. I took the card. How much is this going to cost? More than you want to spend, less than what Mallory's going to lose. She stood. One more thing. Don't engage with her. Don't fight, don't argue, don't give her anything she can use. You're cold, you're professional, you're done. Got it? Got it. And Jack? She walked me to the door. Whatever you're planning, and I know you're planning something, don't do anything I can't defend in court. I didn't answer. She smiled again. Good talk. Grant showed up at my house on a Tuesday night. I was in the garage, reorganizing tools I didn't need it at all. I was just passing the time before bed when I heard a knock. 3 sharp knocks, like a policeman. I opened the door just enough to see him. Same height as I remembered, dressed down in jeans and a jacket, face tight with barely controlled anger. We need to talk, he said. No, I replied. We don't. You can't just... I started to close the door. He shoved it open, stepped forward. I let him, just backed up half a step, kept the chain on. You need to drop this divorce thing, he said. Mallory doesn't deserve what? Consequences? You don't know what you're doing. He leaned in closer. You think you can afford a court fight? Dana Rourke charges $400 an hour. How long do you think you can keep that up? Long enough. He smiled, slyly and condescendingly. See? I don't think you understand. Mallory has friends. She has connections. And you're just some IT specialist in a ridiculous job. If you resist, you'll lose everything. I've already lost everything. I looked him straight in the eyes. The difference is I didn't lose it in court. I lost it to a guy in a bathrobe. His face went red. You smug piece of... Get off my property. Or what? I pulled out my phone, tapped the voice recorder app I'd started the second he knocked. Or I call the cops and play them this recording of you threatening me on my own doorstep. He stared at the phone, then at me. You recorded this? This is a one-party consent state. I can record any conversation I'm part of. I smiled. Compliance guy, remember? I know the rules. Grant stepped back, jaw working. This isn't over. You keep saying that. I closed the door and turned the bolt. Maybe start meaning it. Through the window, I watched him walk back to his car, a black Audi, sleek and expensive. He sat there for a full minute before he drove off. I forwarded the recording to Dana with a one-word email, evidence. She replied 2 minutes later, perfect. Don't engage again. Let me handle it. But I wasn't planning to engage. I was planning something else entirely. The investigator's name was Paul Hendricks, and he looked exactly like a guy who got paid to follow people. Average height, average build, the kind of face you'd forget 5 minutes after meeting him. He met me at a diner on Route 3, slid into the booth across from me with a file folder and a cup of coffee, I didn't see him order. Grant Hale, he said, flipping open the folder. 37. Senior account manager at Bridgewater Financial. Married, well, separated. Wife filed 3 months ago, cited irreconcilable differences. No kids. He cheating on her too? Oh yeah, your wife's not the first. Paul slid a photo across the table. Grant with another woman. Restaurant patio, holding hands. That's from February. Different woman. He's got a type. Professional, married, vulnerable. I stared at the photo. He's a specialist. Basically. Paul pulled out another page. Here's the interesting part. His separation agreement has a morality clause. If he's caught in an affair before the divorce is final, he loses a chunk of his assets. His wife's attorney is smart. They're dragging it out, waiting for him to screw up. How much does he lose? Half his investment portfolio. Maybe $200,000. I sat back, thinking. Can we prove the affair? With Mallory? Already done. Paul tapped the folder. Hotel receipts, credit card charges under his name, security footage from the Marriott showing them together. I've got statements from 2 different desk clerks who remember them checking in as a couple. That's good. That's leverage. Paul closed the folder. Question is, what do you want to do with it? I thought about Mallory's face in the kitchen, Grant's threats on my doorstep, the 6 years I'd spent building a life with someone who'd treated me like a placeholder. I want to ruin him, I said. Quietly. Paul smiled. My favorite kind of work. The next morning, I woke up to find my car wouldn't start. The battery is still alive, the gasoline hasn't burned. Someone poured something into the tank, maybe sugar or sand. The mechanic who towed it said the fuel system was trashed, $1,500 to fix. I called Dana. Grant? She asked. Probably. Can't prove it. Don't try. Just document the expense, file a police report, and let him think he got away with it. She paused. But if you're planning retaliation, I'm not touching his car. Good. Because I can't defend. I'm not touching his car, I repeated. But I might make some phone calls. Bridgewater Financial had a strict ethics policy. I knew because I read the whole thing online. 47 pages of corporate speak about integrity, professionalism, and maintaining the trust of our clients. Sleeping with a married woman probably didn't fall under professionalism. I drafted an anonymous email to Bridgewater's compliance department. Didn't mention names. Just suggested they look into an employee's recent conduct and attached copies of the hotel receipts Paul had found. Not illegal, not harassment, just information. I hit send. 2 days later, Paul called. Grant just got put on administrative leave, internal investigation. That was fast. They don't mess around with this stuff. Bad publicity, potential lawsuits. They'd rather cut him loose than risk it. Paul sounded almost impressed. You didn't touch him, didn't threaten him, just let the system do its thing. That's the difference between revenge and justice, I said. Justice uses the rules. But I wasn't done. Bessis Grant's apartment complex had guest parking enforcement. I knew because I'd driven by once, seen the signs, violators will be towed. I called the towing company, said I was a resident, complained about a black Audi parked illegally in my spot. Gave them the license plate number Paul had pulled. They towed it that night. $300 to get it back. Not a lot, but enough to sting. The next morning, Grant's HOA got an anonymous complaint about noise violations and trash left outside his unit. The kind of complaint that triggers fines, warnings, and the slow bureaucratic grind that makes life miserable. I didn't vandalize anything, didn't touch his property, just used the systems already in place, the rules he probably thought didn't apply to him. Dana called me that afternoon. Whatever you're doing, I'm not doing anything. Jack, I'm being a concerned citizen, reporting violations, following the rules, she sighed. Just be careful. Always. But careful wasn't the same as done. Mallory texted me a week after I kicked her out. We need to talk. It's important. I didn't reply. Dana's rules, no engagement. She texted again an hour later, "I'm pregnant." I stared at that message for a full minute. Then I called Dana. "She's lying," I said. "Probably, but we need to act like she's not." Dana's voice was calm, clinical. "Don't respond. Don't accuse her. We'll request documentation, medical records, conception dates, the works. Make her prove it. And if she can, then we deal with it. But Jack..." She paused. "Is there any chance it's yours?" I thought about the timeline. The nights Mallory had been too tired, the separate bedrooms, the way she'd stopped touching me months before Boston. "No," I said. "Not biologically possible." "You sound sure." "I am." "Why?" I closed my eyes. This was the part I hadn't told anyone. The part I'd kept folded in my wallet for 3 years like a scar. "I had a procedure," I said quietly. "After a health scare. The doctor said it left me sterile. Not by choice, just a side effect. I've got the medical records, lab results, everything." Dana was quiet for a long moment. "Jack, does Mallory know this?" "No." "Why not?" "Because it didn't matter. We'd already decided we didn't want kids, and after the procedure, I just didn't bring it up. It felt like admitting something was broken. So there's no way. Zero chance." I opened my wallet, pulled out the folded clinic letter I'd carried for 3 years. The one I couldn't bring myself to throw away. "I've got the proof." Dana exhaled slowly. "Okay. Don't tell her you have that. Not yet. Let her commit to the pregnancy claim. Let her build her case around it. And when she does, we nuke it." "Exactly." She sounded almost excited. This just became a very different fight. I hung up and looked at the letter in my hand. The date, the diagnosis, the clinical language that said my body had failed me. For 3 years, it had felt like a weakness. Renee Voss found me. I was at the hardware store buying new locks for the house when she approached. Early 30s, sharp eyes, the kind of smile that said she knew more than she was saying. "Jack Mercer," she said. Not a question. "Do I know you?" "Not really, but I know Mallory." She held out her hand. "Renee, we used to be friends." I shook her hand, cautious. "Used to be?" "Past tense. She dropped me after I asked too many questions about her business trips." Renee glanced around the store, lowered her voice. "Can we talk? Somewhere private?" We ended up at a coffee shop 2 blocks away. Renee ordered black coffee, sat across from me, and didn't waste time. "Mallory's using you," she said. "I know." "No, I mean, really using you. This isn't just an affair." She leaned forward. 3 months ago, she told me she was done with you. She said you were a burden to her, that she had found someone better and was going to improve her life. Grant. Grant was part of it, but there's more." Renee pulled out her phone, scrolled through old texts. "Look at this, from February." She showed me a message from Mallory. "Pregnancy might be the card. Courts always side with the mother. If I play it right, I can get support, keep the house, and move on clean." I felt something cold settle in my chest. She planned this. Months ago. Renee put her phone away. "She's not pregnant now, or if she is, it's not yours. But she's going to claim it is, take you to court, and bleed you dry." "Why are you telling me this?" "Because she did the same thing to my cousin. Different guy, same playbook. And because Mallory's a user. She collects people, drains them, and moves on." Renee's jaw tightened. I'm tired of watching her get away with it. I sat back, processing. "Would you testify? In court? Against Mallory?" She laughed, but it wasn't happy. "She'd destroy me." "Not if we destroy her first." Renee studied me for a long moment. Then she nodded. "What do you need?" "Everything. Texts, emails, anything that shows she planned this." "Done." She stood. "But Jack, be careful. Mallory's good at playing victim. If you come at her head on, she'll make you the villain. I'm not coming head on, I said. I'm coming from every angle she's not watching. Renee smiled. Good. That night, Grant showed up again. I was ready this time, saw his car pull up, lights off, parking 2 houses down. He walked to my door slow, like he was thinking about what to do when he got there. I opened the door before he could knock. Last chance, he said. Walk away from Mallory, drop the divorce, and we forget this happened. Or what? Or things will turn out badly. I stepped outside, closed the door behind me. Neighbors were watching now. Mrs. Chen from next door, the college kid across the street. Good. Witnesses. You've already ruined everything, I said. You came to my house. You sabotaged my car. You think I'm scared of you? You should be. Why? Because you've got money? Because you're bigger than me? I smiled. Grant, I don't need to be bigger. I just need to be smarter. His hand shot out, grabbed my collar. Not a punch, a threat. You think... I didn't move, just looked at his hand, then at the neighbors. You're assaulting me, in front of witnesses, while you're under investigation at work and going through a divorce with a morality clause. He let go like I was electric. Yeah, I said. I know about the clause. I know about your wife. I know exactly how much you lose if this affair goes public. His face went pale. How? Doesn't matter. What matters is, you just gave me more ammunition. I stepped back. So here's how this works. You stay away from me. You stay away from my house. And when Mallory's pregnancy lie is revealed, you'll have to answer right next to her. You can't prove... I don't have to prove anything. I just have to make it messy. And trust me, Grant. I'm very good at messy. He stood there, fists clenched, wanting to do something, but knowing he couldn't. I turned, walked back inside, and locked the door. Through the window, I watched him stand there for another minute before he finally left. Mrs. Chen was still watching. I waved at her. She waved back. Mallory's formal demand came through Dana's office. Proof of pregnancy, request for temporary support, motion for emergency hearing. Dana called me. She's moving fast. How fast? She wants a hearing in 2 weeks. Says the pregnancy is high risk, she needs financial support immediately, and you're being financially abusive by cutting her off. I didn't cut her off. She left. Doesn't matter. She's spinning it. Dana paused. We're going to request medical documentation, full records, conception dates, the works. And if she provides them, then we see how far she's willing to lie. The documentation arrived 5 days later. Positive pregnancy test, OB appointment confirmation, estimated due date that, according to my calendar, was impossible. I showed Dana the math. We haven't been intimate in 7 months. Can you prove that? I can prove I moved into the guest room 6 months ago. I can prove she was in Boston, alone, multiple times during the window of conception. I can show bank records where she bought morning-after pills twice last fall. Dana smiled. We're building. Keep going. But there was something else. Something I hadn't told Dana yet. The clinic letter in my wallet, the proof of my sterility, was dated 3 years ago, long before any possible conception date, long before Mallory's pregnancy claim. I'd kept it out of shame, maybe, or denial. But now it was the nuclear option. I just had to decide when to use it. Mallory texted me directly, breaking Dana's no-contact order. Stop making this harder than it needs to be. I'm carrying your child. I stared at that message for a full minute before I replied. We'll let the court decide that. Her response was immediate. You're going to regret this. I didn't reply. Instead, I called Paul. I need eyes on Mallory, where she goes, who she sees, everything. Legal surveillance? Public places only. Nothing we can't use in court. Done. 3 days later, Paul sent me photos. Mallory at a clinic. Not her OB. A different one across town, no pregnancy services listed on their website. I forwarded them to Dana. She called me an hour later. What kind of clinic is this? I don't know, but it's not where a pregnant woman goes for prenatal care. Interesting. She sounded thoughtful. I'll dig into it. That night, Grant's car was parked outside Mallory's temporary apartment. I didn't need Paul to tell me that. I drove by on my way home from work, saw the Audi, saw lights on in her window. They were still together, still planning, still underestimating me. I parked down the block and pulled out my phone. The recording of Grant threatening me on my doorstep. The photos of him at the hotel. The evidence of his affair that violated his separation agreement. One email to his wife's attorney. That's all it would take. But Dana's voice was in my head. Don't do anything I can't defend. I put the phone away. Not yet. Not until the courtroom. That's where this was going to end. Mallory's attorney reached out to Dana with a settlement offer. Split the house 50-50, give Mallory temporary support until the baby was born, revisit custody after. Dana forwarded it to me with a one-word note. Laughable. I called her. What's our counter? Nothing yet. Let her think we're considering it. Let her get comfortable. And then? Then we take everything. Grant came back on a Sunday night. This time he didn't knock. He rang the doorbell hard and fast, like he was trying to break it. I was upstairs, heard it through the floor, checked the camera I'd installed after his last visit. He was alone. No car visible, probably parked around the corner. And he looked different. Not angry, exactly. Desperate. I went downstairs but didn't open the door. Just spoke through it. Go home, Grant. We need to talk. His voice was tight. This is getting out of hand. You made it out of hand. Jack, please, just... He stopped, took a breath. Look, Mallory's pregnancy is real. The baby's mine. But if this goes to court, we both lose. Her, me, you, everyone. I almost laughed. So, you want me to just... What? Walk away? I want you to be reasonable. We can settle this. You get the house, we get a clean divorce, everyone moves on. And the baby? Silence. Yeah, I said. That's what I thought. You don't understand what you're dealing with. His voice dropped. Mallory's connected. She's got people who can make your life very difficult. You fight this, you lose your job, your reputation, everything. Sounds like a threat. It's a warning. I opened the door just enough to see him. Chain still on. You know what's funny? You keep coming here, making threats, acting like you're in control. But you're not. You're scared. I'm not. Your wife's attorney knows about Mallory. Your boss knows. Your HOA knows. Everyone knows, Grant. The only person who doesn't seem to get it is you. His jaw clenched. You sent that email to Bridgewater. Did I? You ruined my career. Your career ruined itself the second you started sleeping with married women. I stepped back. Now get off my property before I call the cops. Again. He slammed his hand against the doorframe. This isn't over. It is for tonight. I closed the door, locked it, and watched through the camera as he stood there, breathing hard, before he finally walked away. The college kid across the street was filming on his phone. Probably thought it was just neighborhood drama, but I knew better. This was evidence. The next morning I woke up to find my car tires slashed, all 4 of them, clean cuts, professional. I called the cops first, then Dana. Grant? She asked. Can't prove it. But you know it was him. Yeah. Good, she sounded pleased. File the police report, document everything, and add it to the evidence pile. Every time he does something like this, he's building our case. He's escalating. Let him. The more desperate he gets, the sloppier he gets. I hung up and looked at my car. $1,500 for the fuel system. Now 4 new tires. Grant was costing me money, but he was buying me ammunition. Fair trade. Paul called that afternoon. Mallory just met with a different attorney, not her divorce lawyer, a criminal defense specialist. My stomach dropped. Why? Don't know yet, but she looked nervous when she left. Can you find out who the attorney is? Already on it. I sat at my kitchen table, staring at the wall, trying to figure out what Mallory was planning. Criminal defense meant she was either scared of something or planning something. Either way, it wasn't good. My phone buzzed. Text from an unknown number. Drop the case or we go public with your medical history. I stared at it. Medical history? The only medical issue I had was the sterility. She knew. But how? I called Dana immediately. Mallory knows about the procedure. How? I don't know, but she just threatened to use it against me. Dana was quiet for a moment. That's actually perfect. Perfect? She's going to paint me as what? A man with a medical condition? That's proof. If she knows you're sterile and she's still claiming pregnancy, she's either admitting the baby isn't yours or she's planning to claim a miracle. Dana laughed. Either way, she's trapped. So what do I do? Nothing. Let her bring it up. Let her try to use it. And when she does, we'll show the court exactly what it means. I hung up and looked at the clinic letter in my wallet again. 3 years ago, it was my shame. Now it was my ace. Grant's Audi got towed again, this time from a loading zone downtown. Not my fault, he parked illegally, but I might have called it in. His work suspension turned into termination. Again, not my fault. Bridgewater's ethics investigation found enough to cut him loose, but I might have provided additional documentation when they asked for it. His HOA violations stacked up. Noise complaints, trash violations, parking violations, each one a small fine, each one a tiny cut. I wasn't breaking laws, I was just using them. But it wasn't enough. I found out where Grant worked out, upscale gym, downtown, the kind with towel service and juice bars. Paul had mentioned it in one of his reports. I joined. Not to confront him, not to fight him, just to be there, to exist in his space. The first time he saw me, he froze mid-rep on the bench press. I was on a treadmill across the room, headphones in, not looking at him. But he knew. The second time, I was in the locker room when he came in. I didn't say anything, just nodded, like we were acquaintances. He left without showering. The third time, I was leaving as he was arriving. Held the door for him. Thanks, he said automatically. No problem, I replied. He looked like he wanted to say something else, but I was already walking away. It was psychological. No threats, no violence, just the constant reminder that I was there, that I wasn't going away, that every space he thought was safe. Wasn't. Paul called me one night. Grant's marriage is officially over. His wife's attorney filed the final papers. Morality clause triggered. He's losing about $200,000 in the settlement. Good. There's more. His wife knows about Mallory now. She's planning to sue for emotional distress. Can she do that? Probably not successfully, but it'll cost Grant legal fees, time, and reputation. Paul paused. He's drowning Jack. Good, I said again. But it still wasn't enough. I wanted to do more. Something visceral. Something that made him feel the way I felt in that hotel room. But Dana's voice was in my head. Don't do anything I can't defend. So I didn't touch his car, didn't vandalize his apartment, didn't even confront him again. I just made sure that everywhere he turned, the walls were closing in. Anonymous tips to his landlord about lease violations, questions to his gym about membership policies and harassment complaints, quiet conversations with mutual acquaintances about his situation. I didn't lie, didn't exaggerate, just told the truth and let it spread. By the end of the month, Grant looked like a man who hadn't slept in weeks. I saw him at the gym once, hollow-eyed, shaky, barely going through the motions. I almost felt bad. Almost. I was meeting Dana at her office downtown when I saw them. Mallory and Grant. coming out of a building 2 blocks away. Medical building, the same one from Paul's earlier photos. I pulled over, watched them through the rearview mirror. They were arguing. Mallory looked upset. Grant looked angry. They got into his car, the Audi he'd somehow gotten back, and pulled into the parking garage across the street. I shouldn't have followed them. I knew that. But I did anyway. The garage was 5 stories, concrete and shadow, the kind of place that echoed. I parked 2 levels below them, listened to their car doors slam, their voices carrying down the stairwell. "Can't keep doing this," Mallory was saying. "You started this," Grant shot back. I got out of my car quietly, moved to the stairwell, stayed back. They were on the landing above me, still arguing. "He's not going to just walk away," Mallory said. "Jack's smart. He's building something." Then we move faster. The pregnancy claim, the court date. We push hard, we win, we're done. "What if he finds out the baby isn't his?" "He can't prove that." "Yes, he can." Mallory's voice cracked. "He's got medical records. Dana Rourke requested mine. If they compare timelines—" I took out my phone and pressed the record button. Grant swore. "Then we don't let it get that far. We settle. We pressure him. We what?" Mallory sounded desperate now. "Threaten him? That worked great with the car. That was your idea. And you went along with it." I climbed the stairs slowly, phone out, camera rolling. They heard me. Grant turned, saw me, and his face went white. "Hey," I said calmly. "Don't mind me. Just passing through." Mallory grabbed Grant's arm. "Jack, this isn't what? Conspiracy to commit fraud? Extortion?" I kept filming, because it sure sounded like that from down there. Grant stepped forward. "Give me that phone." "No. Jack." Mallory's voice was shaking. "You're being ridiculous." "Am I? Because I just heard you admit the baby isn't mine." Her face collapsed. "That's not... I didn't..." Grant lunged for me. I dodged, backed into the stairwell. He followed. I ran, down the stairs, 2 at a time, heart hammering. Grant was faster, bigger, gaining. I could hear Mallory shouting behind us, heels clicking on concrete. I hit the ground floor, sprinted toward my car. Grant caught my shoulder, spun me around. My phone flew out of my hand, skittered across the concrete. "You don't get to ruin this," he said, breathing hard. I didn't fight him, just looked him in the eye. "Already did." He shoved me. I stumbled back, felt the impact rattle my ribs. Grant grabbed the phone, looked at it, and swore. The recording had stopped, but the damage was done. "It's already uploaded," I said. "Cloud backup, automatic. You really think I'd keep evidence on just one device?" He stood there, frozen, holding my phone like it was a live grenade. Mallory caught up, breathing hard. "Grant, we need to go." He recorded us. "I know." "That means—" "I know." She looked at me, and for the first time, I saw genuine fear in her eyes. "Jack, please, we can fix this. We can—" "No," I said. "We can't." I walked to where Grant was standing, held out my hand. "My phone." He didn't move. "Grant," Mallory said quietly. "Give it to him." He dropped it. I picked it up, checked the upload status. Complete. "See you in court," I said. They didn't follow me as I walked back to my car. Dana listened to the recording 3 times without interrupting. When it finished, she leaned back in her chair and smiled. "This is a gift." They admitted the baby isn't mine. Better, they admitted to planning the fraud, premeditation, conspiracy, intent to extort. She tapped the phone. This alone could get the case dismissed and open them up to criminal charges. Could? We're not prosecutors. We don't file criminal charges, but we can use this in family court, and if the judge thinks it rises to criminal behavior, she can refer it. Dana paused. "But here's the thing. I don't want to use this yet." "Why not?" "Because if we play it now, they'll pivot. They'll claim you edited it, or took it out of context, or they were speaking hypothetically. But if we wait until they're on the stand, under oath, committed to their story, she smiled wider, then it's perjury, and we nuke them. When's the hearing? 3 days. 3 days, and then it would all be over. Dana walked me through what to expect, the courtroom layout, where I'd sit, how to answer questions. Keep it simple, she said. Yes, no, I don't know. Don't elaborate. Don't get emotional. Don't give them anything to use. What about the medical records? We'll request hers first. Make her prove the pregnancy timeline. Then, if needed, we bring in yours. The letter. The letter. Dana looked at me seriously. You sure you're ready for this? Once it's public, everyone will know. I thought about that. The shame I'd carried for 3 years, the feeling of being broken. But then I thought about Mallory's face in that hotel room, Grant's threats on my doorstep, the lies they'd built on my silence. I'm ready, I said. Good. She stood. Get some rest. Thursday's going to be a long day. I didn't sleep that night, just sat at my kitchen table, looking at the clinic letter, reading the words I'd memorized 3 years ago. Patient exhibits azoospermia following post-operative complications. Prognosis for natural conception. Negligible. Negligible. The doctor's polite way of saying impossible. For 3 years, it had felt like failure. Now, it felt like freedom. Grant tried to reach me the night before court. Called from a blocked number, left a voicemail. Jack, we need to talk. This doesn't have to go this far. Call me back. I deleted it. Mallory sent an email. I'm sorry. I never wanted this. Can we please just settle? I forwarded it to Dana without replying. At midnight, someone knocked on my door. I checked the camera. Grant. Alone. Looking desperate. I didn't answer. He stood there for 5 minutes, knocked twice more, then left. Thursday morning, I put on my best suit, ate breakfast, drove to the courthouse. The steps were crowded, people milling around, phones out, someone live streaming, small-town gossip machine in full effect. I saw Grant near the entrance, pacing, saw Mallory with her attorney, looking pale. They both saw me at the same time. Grant started walking toward me. Dana intercepted him. Stay away from my client. I just want to talk. You can talk in court. She turned to me. Let's go. We walked past them into the courthouse. Mallory called my name, but I didn't look back. Inside, the hallway smelled like old wood and anxiety. Dana led me to a bench outside the courtroom. Remember, she said, simple answers, stay calm, and don't react, no matter what they say. I won't. And Jack? She smiled. We're going to win. The bailiff called the case. We walked into the courtroom. Judge Patricia Klein was already seated, mid-50s, gray hair, sharp eyes, the kind of judge who didn't tolerate nonsense. She looked up as we entered, gestured to the tables. Mallory and her attorney sat on the left. I sat with Dana on the right. Grant wasn't allowed in the courtroom yet. He'd be called as a witness later. The judge reviewed the file. Ms. Rourke, Mr. Harrison, we're here for a temporary support motion filed by Mrs. Mercer, correct? Mallory's attorney, Harrison, older guy, expensive suit, stood. Yes, Your Honor. Proceed. Harrison laid it out smooth and sympathetic. Mallory was pregnant, high-risk pregnancy, needed support immediately. Jack had abandoned her, cut off access to joint accounts, forced her into financial hardship. It was all lies, but he sold it well. Then Mallory took the stand. She was perfect. Soft voice, sad eyes, hands folded. She talked about the pregnancy, the stress, how scared she was. And Mr. Mercer has refused to support you? The judge asked. Yes, Your Honor. He kicked me out of our home. I've been staying with friends, barely making rent. Has he acknowledged paternity? No. He's denying the child is his. The judge looked at me. Mr. Mercer? Dana stood. We've requested medical documentation from Mrs. Mercer to establish the pregnancy timeline. We have not yet received complete records. Mrs. Mercer, the judge said, do you have documentation? Harrison handed over a folder. The judge reviewed it, nodded. This shows a positive pregnancy test and an estimated due date. Mr. Mercer, you dispute this? Dana stood again. We dispute the paternity claim, Your Honor. The timeline doesn't align with the last documented instance of marital relations. Mallory's face tightened. That's not true. We were together. When? Dana's voice was sharp. Specific dates. I don't remember exact. Your Honor, Harrison cut in. This is harassment. It's cross-examination, Dana shot back. And we have documentation showing Mr. and Mrs. Mercer maintained separate bedrooms for 6 months prior to the alleged conception. The judge looked at Mallory. Is that accurate? We had difficulties, but we were still intimate occasionally. Occasionally, Dana repeated. Can you provide a single date? Mallory's mouth opened, closed. It was around the holidays. Which holidays? Christmas? New Year's? I don't remember. Dana pulled out a calendar. Mrs. Mercer, you were in Boston from December 20th through January 3rd. Hotel records confirm Mr. Mercer was home. So when exactly did this alleged intimacy occur? Harrison stood. Your Honor, this is badgering. Overruled. Answer the question, Mrs. Mercer. Mallory's hands were shaking. Maybe it was before I left. December 19th, then? Maybe. And the estimated conception date provided in your medical records is January 7th. Dana left this without comment. You were still in Boston on January 7th. Silence. The judge leaned forward. Mrs. Mercer, do you want to amend your timeline? I might have the dates wrong. Or, Dana said quietly, the paternity claim. Mallory's attorney stood. Your Honor, we'd like to request a continuance to review. Denied. The judge looked at Mallory. Mrs. Mercer, I'm going to ask you directly. Are you certain Mr. Mercer is the father of this child? Mallory looked at her attorney, looked at the judge, looked at me, and I smiled, just a small smile, calm, knowing. Yes, she whispered. He's the father. The judge nodded. Then we'll proceed to paternity testing. Actually, Dana said, we have additional evidence. Proceed. Dana looked at me. I reached into my jacket pocket, pulled out my wallet, felt the folded letter inside. This was it. I stood slowly, felt every eye in the courtroom on me. Your Honor, I said, voice steady. I wasn't going to do this. The judge raised an eyebrow. Do what, Mr. Mercer? Humiliate her. I looked at Mallory. I was going to let the paternity test speak for itself. Let it take weeks, drag it out, make this quieter. But she left me no choice. Mallory's face went pale. Jack! Mrs. Mercer, don't speak, the judge said sharply. Then to me, continue. I opened my wallet, took out the folded letter I'd carried for 3 years, unfolded it carefully. 3 years ago, I said, I had a medical procedure. Post-operative complications left me sterile. Complete azoospermia. I held up the letter. This is documentation from the clinic, lab results, medical diagnosis, dated 2 years before the alleged conception. The courtroom went silent. Not quiet. Silent. The kind of silence that feels like pressure. Dana stood. Your Honor, we'd like to submit this as evidence. The judge gestured. Dana took the letter, handed it to the bailiff, who passed it to Judge Klein. She read it slowly. Her expression didn't change, but something in her eyes hardened. Mrs. Mercer, she said quietly. Approach. Mallory stood on shaky legs, walked to the bench. The judge showed her the letter. Do you still claim Mr. Mercer is the father of your child? Mallory's mouth opened. No sound came out. Mrs. Mercer, there could be miracles happen. Miracles. The judge's voice was ice. Or lies. Your Honor. Harrison stood quickly. We'd like to request. Sit down, Mr. Harrison. The judge didn't look at him. Mrs. Mercer, I'm going to ask you one more time. Is Jack Mercer the biological father of your child? Mallory's hands were shaking. I thought. Yes or no? A tear ran down Mallory's face. No. The courtroom erupted. Whispers, gasps, someone's phone camera flashing. The judge banged her gavel once. Order. Silence returned, but it was different now, charged. Mrs. Mercer, return to your seat. The judge's face was stone. Mr. Harrison, your client just committed perjury in my courtroom. Do you have anything to say? Harrison looked like he wanted to disappear. Your Honor, we were operating under the understanding. Your client lied under oath about paternity to extract financial support from her estranged husband. The judge looked at Dana. Ms. Rourke, do you have additional evidence? Yes, Your Honor. Dana stood. We have a recording of Mrs. Mercer and her associate discussing the fraudulent paternity claim. They explicitly state that the child is not Mr. Mercer's and that they intended to use the court system to force him to pay support. Play it. Dana pulled out a tablet, connected it to the courtroom's audio system. The recording from the parking garage filled the room. Mallory's voice. What if he finds out the baby isn't his? Grant's voice. He can't prove that. Mallory again. Yes, he can. He's got medical records. The judge listened to the whole thing without expression. When it ended, she looked at Mallory. Who is the father, Mrs. Mercer? Grant Hale, Mallory whispered. Is Mr. Hale married? He's separated. Bring him in. The bailiff opened the door. Grant was standing right outside, probably listening. He walked in slow, looking like a man heading for execution. Mr. Hale, the judge said, did you participate in a scheme to defraud Mr. Mercer? Grant looked at his feet. We didn't mean yes or no. Yes. The judge sat back. Mrs. Mercer, Mr. Hale, I'm referring this matter to the prosecutor's office for possible criminal charges. Fraud, perjury, conspiracy. They'll decide whether to pursue it. In the meantime, your motion for support is denied. Dismissed with prejudice. She banged the gavel. Mallory collapsed into her chair, sobbing. Grant stood there, frozen. Harrison gathered his papers quickly, whispered something to Mallory I couldn't hear. The judge looked at me. Mr. Mercer, you're free to go. Thank you, Your Honor. Dana put a hand on my shoulder. Let's get out of here. We walked out together, past Mallory, past Grant, past the reporter filming everything on her phone. Outside, the steps were packed. Someone shouted a question. A camera flashed. I didn't answer, just kept walking to my car. In the parking lot, Dana turned to me. That was perfect. It's not over yet. For you it is. The divorce will go through clean. She gets nothing. Grant loses everything. She smiled. You won. I looked back at the courthouse, saw Mallory coming out, surrounded by cameras, face buried in her hands. Saw Grant trying to push through the crowd, someone shouting about his wife's lawsuit. Yeah, I said, I won. But it didn't feel the way I expected. It felt cold, empty, like I'd burned down a house just to prove I could. Dana seemed to read my mind. Regret? No. I looked at her. Just done. Good. She held out her hand. Go home, lock your doors. Don't talk to anyone. And if they contact you, I call you. Smart man. I shook her hand and got in my car, drove home through streets that looked the same as they had this morning, but felt different, lighter maybe, or just emptier. That night, I sat in my kitchen with a beer I didn't drink, And the clinic letter I'd carried for 3 years. The letter that had saved me. The letter that had destroyed them. I thought about tearing it up, throwing it away, moving on. But I folded it carefully and put it back in my wallet. Not as shame anymore, just as a reminder that sometimes the thing you think breaks you is the thing that saves you. And sometimes revenge isn't about getting even. It's about getting free. Outside, my phone buzzed. Message from an unknown number. You destroyed my life. I deleted it without reading the rest. Another buzz. This isn't over. Deleted. Another. You'll regret. I blocked the number, turned off my phone, and went to bed. Tomorrow, the prosecutor's office would call. The divorce would move forward. The gossip would spread. But tonight, I was just tired. And for the first time in months, I slept through the night. The courthouse steps the next morning were still crowded. News vans, cameras, reporters asking questions to anyone who'd talk. I didn't go back. Didn't need to. Dana called at noon. Prosecutors taking the case. Fraud charges for both of them. Grant's wife is also suing him for violating the separation agreement. He's going to lose everything. And Mallory? No prison, like you wanted, but she'll lose her job, her reputation, probably have to move out of state. Dana paused. They're both ruined. Good. You sound different. I feel different. Better? Just different. She was quiet for a moment. You did good, Jack. Thanks. I hung up and looked around my empty house, the house I'd fought for, the house I'd won. It didn't feel like a victory. It just felt quiet. 2 days later, I saw Mallory at the grocery store. She saw me first. Froze in the cereal aisle, cart half full, face pale. I nodded once. She turned and walked the other way. I finished my shopping and went home. That night, Grant's car was gone from Mallory's apartment complex. Paul confirmed he'd moved out of state, New Hampshire, maybe Vermont. Running. Mallory stayed for another week, then left too. No forwarding address. The house sold fast. My lawyer handled the split, 70-30 in my favor, since I'd paid the mortgage.